There is a war going on in Vietnam. Ranger 8 crash lands on the moon after successfully photographing possible landing sites for the Apollo missions. The year is 1965, and the GTO was a Tempest option. But before getting into all of it, I'm Jay. Welcome to What It's Like, the automotive channel that talks the history, design, specs of these rolling works of art. We cover the classics, vintage, some exotics, lots of orphan cars, and cars that are frankly being forgotten. If that sounds like a channel that you will totally dig, subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. 1965 Pontiac model lineup. These aren't in any particular order: Tempest, Le Mans, GTO, Catalina, Grand Prix, Star Chief, Bonneville. Pontiac offered the GTO from 1964 to 1974 in 4 generations, was brought back from 2003 to 2006 for a 5th generation. 1965 falls in a bit of a gray area. It's technically in the 1st generation, which had a production run from 1964 to 1967, but 1964 was part of an option package for the Le Mans line. In 1965, it was an option for the Tempest line. The GTO wouldn't become its own separate make or line until 1966. The Pontiac GTO generally gives the credit to one person, one guy, John DeLorean, but the truth is, it wasn't just him. Estes, G, Collins, Wagner, they all sat in a boardroom and outsmarted the bean counters at GM. You have to remember, GM back in the day set rules on what cars were allowed to be built. They wasn't racing anybody. GM didn't want a racing image, which is totally ironic. The GTO, in a lot of ways, was like a giant middle finger to the establishment. Happy Independence Day, baby! DeLorean was a colorful guy. He wore sideburns, pinstripe suits, drove Ferraris, and the GTO name was brought on by the Ferrari GTO. GTO standing for the Ferrari for Gran Turismo Amigato. Now, this may be just a story, but I've seen it mean other things for Pontiac, like Grand Tempest Option or Groovy Tempest Option. Abbreviations can mean more than one thing, like EST could stand for estimate or established, or Eastern Standard Time. The GTO was a $295 package, code 382/UPCW62. GTO package included, but not limited to, 389 cubic inch displacement V8 with a 4-barrel carburetor on top of it, dual exhaust, chrome rocker covers, oil filler cap, air cleaner, HD battery, 7-blade declutching fan, 4-shift 3-speed manual, 323 rear-end gears, pinstriping, hood scoop, which was non-functioning, GTO badging, wood grain instrument panel. The GTO package could be had as a convertible, a pillared coupe, and hardtop. Built on the GM A-body platform, the 64 and 65 are drastically different in design, so let's compare 64 on top and 65 on the bottom, starting in the front. The first thing that you notice is the size difference, with the 64 being 203 inches long and the 65 being 206.1 inches long, but it looks a whole lot longer than that. Second, the headlight placement. Iconic stacked headlights on the 65 versus horizontal on the 64. The 65 looks all business, and it's a total shame that GM didn't race these professionally. Both cars have split grills, quad headlights, turn signals mounted inside the channel, inside the bumpers, hood scoop on the 65. The 64 doesn't have a hood scoop per se, but it looks like it has smaller hood vents. This shot isn't the greatest shot. The center hood line is more aggressive on the 64, where it comes out to a point at the front fascia. Looking at the side profile, just take a minute and look at both of these designs, similar yet different. The bumpers have a different side profile. Beltline molding can be found on both cars in between the wheel wells. Both front fenders are different. The 64 doesn't have the belt line in the front overhang like the 65 does. GTO badging, different places in the rear. Looking at the rear at this angle, just look at how the body line bevels at the belt line on both the 64 and 65. The 64 rear design is more Frenched than the 65. Rear bumpers are different. 64 has a gas door in the center. Gas filler door is located behind the license plate on the 65. Take a look at the 65 applique and how it compares to the 64. Dash and interior is pretty close to the same. The only major difference that I can see is the seat material patterns and the steering wheel designs differ between 64 and 65. The 64 kind of looks like a Studebaker steering wheel. Which one do you like better in the comment section below? Let's talk specs. 206.1 inches long, 73.4 inches wide, 54 inches tall. It rides a wheelbase of 115 inches. It weighs 3,462 pounds. Price, $2,935, which is equivalent to you spending $28,336.91 in the year 2023. Total 1965 Pontiac production was 802,000 units. Total Tempest, 182,905 units. Of that number, GTO hardtops was 55,722 units. Moving on to engines. Only one engine on offer, 389 cubic inch displacement V8, 6.4 liters. It's good for 335 horsepower with the 4-barrel carburetor, 360 horsepower with the tri-power setup, 431 pound-feet of torque at 2,400 RPM, with a bore of 4.1 inches, a stroke of 3.8 inches, compression 10.5 to 1, 5 main bearings. When backed with a 3-speed manual transmission with the 4-barrel carburetor, 0 to 60 could be had in 6.1 seconds. Theoretical top speed, 131 miles per hour, while achieving an average fuel economy rating of 10.5 miles to the gallon. These are all baseline numbers. 3 transmissions on offer, 2-speed automatic, 3-speed manual, 4-speed manual. Let's talk chassis. Frame, perimeter design, box section, 5 cross members, joined parallel bars for structural rigidity. Front suspension, ball joint, independent front with upper and lower control arms, rubber bushings, low rate coil springs with double acting shock absorbers inside the coil springs. Rear suspension, 4-link angle mounted upper and lower control arms, rubber bushings, low rate coil springs, angle mounted hydraulic shock absorbers, rubber cushioned control arms. Brakes, self-adjusting, air cooled, inner expanding type, 2-shoe fixed single anchor. The drum diameter for the front and rear is 9.5 inches. Electrical system is 12 volts. Steering, link parallelogram with recirculating ball bearing gear for both manual and power steering. Manual is 24 to 1. Power steering is 17.5 to 1. They did offer a quick steer manual option, which was 20 to 1. Options, not getting into all of the options, but here are a few. Air conditioning, block heater, console, rear window defog, cruise control, power brakes, power steering, power windows, 6-way power seat, quick ratio, manual steering, which was 20 to 1, safety, track, limited slip, tri-power, which was 3 2-barrel carburetors with ram air, which made the hood scoop functional. Let's talk styling. Look at how these lights are stacked. Also notice the bezel is textured. Look at all of the lines that are happening in this bumper design. Turn signal indicators down below. Also notice how far this comes out. Taking a look at the top of the hood, it's nice raised points here on the fenders. This car has a hood scoop, but it's like it's just a bulge in the hood scoop. It doesn't look like it's 2 separate pieces, is what I'm trying to say. Center line. Coming around the side, look at this angle. Look at how this bulges out. Fender flare. There's GTO badging right there. The mirror is mounted on the door. Sort of, look at where the mirror is placed. This line. This car has drip rails that run the length of the car. Also look at this hood line. It's got a nice pinstripe that runs
the top of the fender. Nice bright work that outlines the wheel well. These are stock standard GTO wheels from 1965. This characteristic coming out the back with a nice GTO insignia there. I love the pipes, how they come out. Bumper. Look at how these lights are designed. Look at how it's all finned, textured. Better look at this rear design. The deck lid is pretty smooth. There is a center line here in the center, as well as Pontiac logo. Ever so slight fins. This door has some heft to it. Painted steel at the top, vinyl here. Nice chrome bars to separate color and materials. Carpet down here. Armrest as well as door handle to pull the door shut. This is the door handle to get out. Window crank for the big window, and it operates like this. And this is what the window looks like. Look how thick that is. It's pretty thick. Vent window. Coming down inside the pedal box down here. Emergency brake. Right behind it is the high beam switch for the high beams headlights. Clutch, brake, gas pedal. This is a vent in the driver's side footwell, which is really nice, especially if you have a engine. 389 probably puts out some heat through the firewall. A lot of these cars didn't have insulation between the firewall and you, so it's really nice to have a vent down here to allow outside air to come in to cool your feet off. Take a look at this interior. Here's what over the hood looks like. Here is what first person over the hood looks like. Underneath the steering wheel, there is adequate space to put my hand in between my lap and the crotch. And the only reason I show that is because if you're the same size as me, this is about how you're going to fit in this car. Wear size 36 pants. This steering wheel column doesn't appear to tilt. Seat doesn't move up or down. Having a steering wheel in your crotch isn't the best solution.
On to the button switches and knobs. Key ignition is all the way left. 4 gauge pods sit directly in front of the driver. First pod has the gasoline gauge at the top, amp meter light at the bottom, speedometer with odometer, tachometer, coolant temperature, oil pressure. The switch in the foreground at the edge of the dash pad is for the reverb, fan speed. 2 sliders. The top slider is for air. The bottom slider is for temperature, radio, headlights, wipers, push to center for the wash feature, rear de-icer or defogger or defroster, lighter.
Up above, there are sun visors and they look like this. Notice the cutout for the rear view mirror. Another sun visor over here, as well as courtesy mirror for the passenger. Rear view mirror with daytime, nighttime feature. Ashtray. There's a grab handle to hold on to. Look at this console. That's a really cool looking console. Let's show how much space there is here. The camera fits inside the console, but it won't shut because it's too high. It's too tall. But it does fit in there. I'm sure if I took the lens off, it would fit in there better. Notice the light. The light is up inside there. That's pretty cool. Look at how the gear shift lever is placed inside this console. It's really cool. Getting in the rear seat, but before we do, look at all the chrome accent trim on the side of the seat, as well as these seats do move back and forth. Getting in the rear, slide the seat forward like so. Just look at how this seat is designed. Notice the back comes up a little bit. So notice the light here at the base of the center console. So here is what the front looks like from the back. Let's take a real quick gander at the greenhouse or the pillar to glass ratio. It's pretty decent in this car. It's nice and airy. This is what visibility looks like out the rear window from the back seat. Nice parcel shelf. There are coat hooks. There is a dome light. Everything that's found over on the driver's side is also found on the passenger side. Ashtray, as well as armrest. The windows do go down. They operate like this. So here is the seat profile. It is rather upright. The bench dips down in the back pretty aggressively. It's not that wide, but you sit up rather high, and this is the knee situation. It's a little bit negative knee space for a full-size adult. This is what I look like sitting in the back. I don't have that much headroom. I feel kind of squished. It's not really the space for like a full-size adult to sit back here, but there's tons of room up front. Coming to the under the hood section, the hood release is down in here, and you push it to the left. There's a secondary catch right here, and you push it, pull it towards you. The hood is very light because of these massive springs that help out with the hood. Just take a gander at that gorgeous 389. Tri-power, 3 carburetors. It's got an alternator, power steering, battery. It's been upgraded with a dual master cylinder as well as power brakes. The owner told me that he put disc brakes on the front. The 389 actually looks small in this engine compartment.
On the positive side, when somebody says American muscle car, this is usually one of those cars that comes to mind fast, even now. This car has soul and presence that a Tesla just doesn't have. Nice, easy to read gauges. The car was equipped with a Groovy console. Not a lot of people know that Pontiac uses a cable, not linkage, and the gas pedal is super light and very responsive. Milestone car, status, fine handling, more sought after than ever. Against it, high insurance costs, high operating costs, so-so construction quality. All right, now it's time for Would You Rather. 2 scenarios today. In the first scenario, would you rather have a 1965 Chevy Chevelle or 1965 Pontiac GTO or 1965 Shelby Mustang GT350? I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free to pause the video. Moving to the second scenario, would you rather have a 1965 Pontiac GTO or a 1966 Pontiac GTO or 1967 Pontiac GTO? Going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free to pause the video. Moving to Name That Tune. First person to give both the name of the band and song title correctly in the comment section will have their comment pinned to the top of it. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below or check out our Facebook group that correlates with this YouTube channel. If you don't have Facebook and still would like to reach me, send me an email. All of that information will be linked in the description below. Just know I appreciate you guys coming out and watching this. I really, really love making these videos. I love answering questions, and I just love it. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to do what I really love to do. And until next time, toodaloo! So a really funny story for you this Independence Day. So I was down at my mom's house today. My brother was down there with his daughter, my niece, and I was telling my brother a story. I said, just imagine if you had to explain to somebody how a picnic worked that never has ever done a picnic before. And his daughter was just looking at me really intently. And I was like, first, you have to buy all the food, and you're going to spend more money than you would if you were going to eat out at a nice restaurant. Sandwiches, lunch meats, salads, ice, got to get a big cooler to put all this stuff in. And then you got to go home and you got to prepare all of this food. People can think outside the box and make get like meat, like ground beef to make tacos or hamburgers, cheeseburgers. Some people even get steak. Steak's a really nice option. Definitely prefer steak over lunch meat, that's for sure. But anyway, you prepare the food at home. Then when the food is prepared and nice and warm, generally, picnic foods are generally cold foods. but some people can make warm food for a picnic. Anyway, you get all the food, you take it, drag it to the car, get it all settled in there. Hopefully it's in a nice basket or something that won't tip over and spill. Take it to the middle of nowhere, set up underneath a tree or whatever. While I'm doing all of this, his daughter is just going, no, 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 in the background. It is so funny. It was a missed opportunity. I wish that I would have recorded it then. But you're there enjoying the picnic with a bunch of other people that are quote unquote enjoying the picnic. I don't understand why people do it. It just never really made sense to me. Either way, enjoy Independence Day, whether that is at the picnic, at a fancy restaurant, or just chilling with family. Until next time, toodaloo.